Everybody has a primary love language, and if you send out that primary love language to that person, what's going to happen is they're going to light up. They're going to be happy. You're going to make their day. So the love languages are first. Let's talk about gifts. Some people just like gifts. You send them a gift, they get way excited about a gift. That might be their love language. Some people like the hugs. Some people like touch. So touch is another love language.
We are most alive when we are in love. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Podcast with Sheila, the podcast that is spreading positivity around the world by sharing inspiring life experiences. He is an international best-selling author of The Rule of Love, but the true author of Love is God, a love linguist who has developed a new way to use the principles of love, and today we are going to be learning about all of that and more. As usual, our aim is to motivate, inform, and inspire you. Hello, Paul, and welcome to Podcast with Sheila.
Hi, Sheila. How are you today?
Not bad at all. Yeah, not bad at all, but I'm excited we're doing this because the topic is love, and love is life. So I'm excited for us to talk about this. In brief, who is Paul? Where does he come from? Just the basic stuff before we get the ball rolling.
Sure. Sheila, sometimes when we go through adversity, that's what helps us. It's like necessity is the mother of invention, and that's kind of what it is with me as well. I was raised in a family that was abusive, and from that, had a desire to find what love was all about, and so that's kind of where I've come from.
Great. Now, what's your story? Let's get into your story for today.
Yeah. So I want to start with my grandfather, actually, because I think that some things that happen in our life are more generational, not genetic, not passed down through the genes, but actually generational. And so my grandfather had 9 children with his wife, and shortly after that 9th child was born, she passed away. So he was so distraught, as most people would be distraught when their spouse passes away. Very distraught. He sold the farm. He sold all the equipment. But when people would come to the auction, he said, "And would you like this child? And would you like this child? And would you like this child?" Until he'd given all the children away except for one. Oh. And he took Benjamin with him to Montana in the United States, and in Montana met a school teacher that had never been married. With her, he had another 10 children, of which my father was the 6th child. So he's number 15 of 19 children. Mm-hmm. Very big families. Yeah. And then my father was born in 1922, and his father, this grandfather, passed away in 1932, right in the middle of the Great Depression. And so what happens now is you've got this abandonment issue of all these children, 19 children abandoned. Now you've got the financial crisis on top of it. So there's just some mental bad decision making along the way that happens, and I think they pass that on. My father kind of toned it down for the children. He only had 11 children, only 11, of which I'm number 10. Oh. And so I'm the tithing child, so to speak. So number 10 of 11, I'm sandwiched between a sister above me and a sister below me. So I'm a thorn between 2 roses there. All the rest are brothers. Mm-hmm. My father, only because of the economic conditions, was only able to go through 8th grade. And so with that type of education, he was able to get a truck driving job, and that's what he did his whole life. When I was growing up, I remember him being gone most of the time during the week, and then he'd come home on Friday. So he'd just be gone on a trip somewhere, and when he came home on Friday, he dated my mother. I absolutely loved that about my father, that he had a perfect example. I don't ever remember him missing that date with his wife on Friday. But he wasn't very creative about it. It was always the Maverick bar, and it was always with alcohol. And I can see him becoming imbibed, and as he's being imbibed, my mother's disclosing what happened with all the children in the week, how her week was. Just as normal couples would converse that way. And when she did that, I can imagine her also starting at the top of the list, the first child born, and then all the way they get down to me. My father's being annoyed, he's being annoyed, he's being annoyed, he's being annoyed, and he's ready to blow. He's ready to flash and have an anger fit there. And it seemed like it always happened on me. And maybe I'm just taking it too personally, but I remember getting the belt and being spanked very severely. One time so severely, I remember I was black and blue on my rear end for more than 3 weeks. It was just that severe. So it was a rough childhood, but we thought that was normal. We just didn't know any better. But it just seemed to get a little worse. By the time I was age 17, I was moving out. I was a junior in high school, just had one more year left to go in high school, and it's just, I moved in with my brother. And shortly after I moved in with my brother, his company transferred him down to California. But while I'm with my brother, I'm noticing also that he's trying to be a really good father. He had a few children at the time. He was trying to be a very good father, but he also had the same problem, that he'd be annoyed, and flash. And so it seemed like it was that thing is all by itself was generational. And I had, from that childhood, I had a lot of residual anger myself. And I would be annoyed at what somebody else was doing, and annoyed, and then I'd flash. And I think that over a period of time, it's very detrimental to any relationship. But I kept blaming my father for all those detrimental relationships, all the relationships that just blew up like the flash, that blew up, and I had some social awkwardness and that sort of thing. I blamed my father until I was about age 35 years old. That's a long time.
Yeah.
He had already been dead for 7 years, Sheila. I mean, he couldn't even respond. Even if I wanted to talk to him about it and try to resolve those differences, he wasn't around so that I could do that. Yeah. So at age 35, I decided, you know what? I've got to take responsibility right here and now for my own actions. So remember, I came from this negative, this angry household. So I said, I don't want to be angry. It's a horrible statement to make because it's a negative statement about a negative thing. And two negatives in math actually make a positive. Yeah. But in relationships, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It absolutely doesn't work that way. So I believe that was one of the factors that caused the demise of my first marriage. After 23 and a half years and 8 children, I toned it down myself. My father had 11. My grandfather had 19. I only had 8. My children are only having 3, so we're getting there, Sheila. Yeah. We're getting there. But it's so I'm single, and I'm doing what I call destination dating.
Yeah.
So I'm going to different cities, meeting someone, having a date, then we go back to our homes. And I did that for about a year and a half. Just went to some great places. Went to New York City and Daytona Beach, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia, and Nashville, and Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, Cabo San Lucas. I mean, just went to a lot of fun places. Spent a lot of money and didn't find anything. So I moved to Phoenix. I'm living in Phoenix, and my sister gives me a call, my older sister. And you can imagine being in number 10 of 11 children, I didn't have much to say about anything that went on. It was all the votes were above me, older than me, and their vote counted a whole lot more than any of my votes. It really wasn't democratic either. They told me what to do. That was in the day when you had to walk up to the TV and turn the knob to change the channel. And I was the guy that changed the channel, but it was because of an order of an older sibling. So it was just, I didn't have all those choices. And so anyway, my sister calls me, says she has a neighbor that she wants to introduce to me. And this neighbor is my sister, and the neighbor is 7 hours away from where I'm living. I said, yeah, I already had this destination dating. Didn't work out. I don't want to do it. I've been destination dating for a year and a half. I didn't want to continue to do that because I felt like it was the part of the lyrics of that song. I was looking for love in all the wrong places, and it just wasn't working out. So I told her that. I said, no, I don't want to do that. She says, oh, come on. And it's just like I said, what you have to do what Big Sister says, because that's kind of the pecking order in the family.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'll start emailing her. Well, as I'm emailing her, she's very interesting, very humorous, got a great sense of humor, and I'm actually getting sucked in a little bit. Mm. And so we're starting to develop this little relationship. And then I decided, I'm going to go travel. I want to see this person that I want to talk to this person in person. And so I started traveling up there and did that for a couple months, and then I moved up to where my sister was at. Since I'm single, I'm pretty easy, fancy, loose and fancy free. I could move wherever. And so I move up to my sister's area, and we start developing the relationship. And it gets pretty serious. So it's time for now Big Brother approval. So I take this woman with me up to 300 miles north of where I'm at, and first thing, we go in my brother's house. My sister-in-law pulls her aside and said, the only emotion that the Zolman family learned growing up was anger. At first I did not. I said, it made me mad. I thought, oh, she nailed it. And I thought, if that's true, and apparently it was, from an outsider looking in, that was what was true. So if that was true, I thought that there and then I had an opportunity to change that that perception of the Zolman family now and forever. And so I started reading the color code. I started reading the 5 love languages. And as I'm reading the 5 love languages, I really like the principles. The principles reconcile to the life of Jesus Christ. And it's like that I was Christian, and I still am Christian, wanted to be more in that direction, but I couldn't get the application. Dr. Chapman wrote the book and published it in 1992, and so it's been a long-lasting book about the love languages, but but he says that if I guess, Sheila, what your love language is, then we're going to be buddies.
What is
I'm a bad guess.
Yeah.
I'm a bad.
Let me try to get properly. What's the love language? What is it? Love language. What is that?
So a love language. Dr. Chapman's theory about the love languages is that everybody has a primary love language, and if you send out that primary love language to that person, what's going to happen is they're going to light up. They're going to be happy. You're going to make their day. So the love languages are first, let's talk about gifts. Some people just like gifts. You send them a gift, they get way excited about a gift. That might be their love language. Oh. Some people like the hugs. Some people like touch. So touch is another love language. Or they might like the high five, or the fist bump, or the chest bump, or whatever they do. Or they might have a secret handshake that they do that has like 5 or 6 different steps of that handshake, and that bonds people together. So all these love languages are designed to bond people together. So the next love language would be service. Service is a love language that, Sheila, I'm going to wash your car today. Hope that's going to make you happy. And if it makes you happy, if you light up with that, then I detected what your love language is. The other love language is time, spending time with one another. Just putting on the brakes, putting your phone away, being present with that person. That's a love language. And the last love language that we talk about are, of course, the words. Just the words of Jesus Christ. We've got those words. We love those words. But sending out words of encouragement, sending out words of love, saying I love you. And some people just like that. Some people like it in a note. However it's sent, people really respond to words and to compliments. So those are the 5 love languages. So as I'm studying these love languages, I read the book 4 or 5 times. I'm just really not getting it. I remember where I came from, not knowing what love was all about. This was just rather confusing. to me, what was confusing was the direction. Is it what I want, or is it what I send out? And I just couldn't get the direction. And I had a hard time with the survey as well. Of course, coming from where I came from, physical touch was if I wasn't feeling whacked, if I wasn't getting whacked in my family, I wasn't getting loved. And so from that, of course it's going to be physical touch for me. But just think of this, if I take the survey and then I found out what my love language is, what am I supposed to do with that, Sheila?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to advertise? No, Sheila, I'm gifts. What do you have for me today?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of awkwardness. I didn't understand that as love. How is that supposed to be love?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I realized about this was that love's directional. That there's no way I can bid anybody to love me and have that be love. I can ask, but if I ask, it feels more like a duty-bound thing. So, well, he asked, so I have to. I mean, it just didn't feel like it. And then the other thing that Dr. Chapman talks about is that most people like to give away what their primary love language is, in hopes of it coming back. And in that reciprocity, I felt like that's not love either. That's a transaction. It's not. We're not at let's make a deal. It's just that's not love. That's a transaction,
Yeah.
and love is not transactional like that. So what I did was I contacted Dr. Chapman, asked him. I had an idea, and I thought that maybe I could use those icons. So I asked Dr. Chapman, "Are you licensing those icons that you have for each one of the love languages?" And his attorney wrote me back and said, "No, they're not doing that." So I contacted an attorney locally that was an intellectual property attorney, a copyright attorney, and he said that theory, like the love language theory, is not copyrightable. Application is. So the application of how you present that theory is copyrightable. So what I did was I made my own icons, and I put it on a die.
Okay.
So this is what the die looks like. There you see there's a hand with an hourglass on it, and that's the symbol I have for time.
Oh, okay.
Where we have it looks like a waiter holding a platter. That's the symbol for service.
Okay.
You'll see the hands that have the heart shape, and a conversation fly out that looks like the heart is talking. Those are the words.
All right.
You've got two hands touching.
Yeah.
That's touch.
Okay.
And then the last one is the gifts.
Okay.
A hand holding a present. So there's 5 love languages, 6 sides on the die. The 6th side is a hand holding a question mark.
Yeah.
That's what I call surprise me.
Okay.
I live 2 hours north of Las Vegas. Some people like to call that dealer's choice. So there's just 2 instructions. You roll the die every day. That's the love language you practice all day that day. Just remember, Sheila, I'm single at the time. Dr. Chapman would suggest that you love and do practice the love languages with your significant other. I'm not against that at all, but I think I don't know anybody, Sheila, not anybody, that is with their significant other 24/7.
Yeah.
Nobody. There's nobody like that.
Yeah.
So what I thought was that take away the part-time job or the part-time loving, take that away, and I had to do it to everyone. I thought, I'm single, I don't have any significant other, I'm just going to do this to everyone. And so what that did for me is it helped me develop an attitude of loving all day long, all day. And it helped build a character. So by rolling the die, these are picture icons on the die, no words at all. It burned in my mind, the picture burned into my mind from what did I roll early in the morning to what am I doing throughout the day. And as I'm watching for these opportunities and delivering the love that I rolled earlier in the day, sending out that love, I'm watching for people that light up. When they light up, I've discovered what their primary love language is. So this is new. No longer, Sheila, do you have to say, let's pause this relationship for a minute, So you can take this survey so that I know how to love you. You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Just watch them light up. And when you're watching them light up, you just take a mental note that that's what they like. And wash, rinse, repeat, do it over and over again. As you're doing that, you're making people have a better day. And when you send that out, they're going to send it out also to their circles of influence. They're going to spread that love and have a better day. Contrast that, though, with anger. You send anger out, you're getting it right back. You get an immediate return on that investment. And it's usually about 10 times worse than what you sent out. So it's not worth it to send that out. But with love, you're sending it out without any expectation of it coming back. But you also know the law of the harvest. You know karma. You know the law of attraction. All those laws, kind of the same thing. You send it out, it's coming back after many days. It's a boomerang, as anger is a boomerang, but it's just sending it out. So that's the story of how I created the die and how we came to where we're at today.
Great. I think that as you narrated your story, you've answered most of my questions for me. So now I think my next question will be, what kind of transformation can a person expect with this theory or this system you've created?
I think that they can realize that sending love out is really kind of a fun thing to do. You're trying to light people up. You're trying to help them have better days, and it just becomes your focus. I think that, back to the story a little bit, Sheila, that I found myself just stacking those annoyances on top of one another. What I found out is that I was out of my lane. I was trying to manage, so to speak, not really manage, but trying to say, what's wrong with that person? Why are they doing that when it's none of my choice?
Yeah.
I realized whatever they're choosing to do is their choice. I have nothing to do with that. And I think that when people can remember to stay in their lane, they're going to be a lot happier and there'd be less annoyance, less rage. And if you're not annoyed at someone saying what's wrong with that person, then you're talking about the self-talk to me, and the paradigm shift for me it became now what's right about that person.
Yeah.
What can I love about that person? I think that the people listening here can make that transformation as well. They'll understand that they're watching for what's right about people instead of what's wrong about people. We can't help that. We really can't help what's wrong. But within our observation, we can watch and look for what's right about people and how we can love them. I've found in doing this, Sheila, that a lot of people don't even see the qualities that I see in them. And when I express what qualities I see in them, they buoyed up, they're encouraged, and it kind of makes it bigger. I like to describe it like with a magnifying glass. That a magnifying glass is going to make things bigger. And if you're magnifying their faults or their weaknesses or their shortcomings, that's going to be bigger. Who wants that? Why would you want that? And why would you do that? You just think about it, step back for a minute, stop the criticism. You don't want that to grow bigger, so quit the criticism. You're the one that started it, and you're the one that's feeding that. You're enabling that misconduct or that behavior you think that's not good. You're enabling it by focusing on that. You're adding to the fire. Instead of doing that, focus on the good, add to that fire, make the good things of people grow bigger. And I think the world will have a lot better peace, be a lot more peaceful, a lot less rage if we stay in our lane, but focusing on what's wrong with everybody else. We're not their judge.
I like that bit about staying in your lane. I think this week I made a post on that I'm minding my business and staying in my own lane. And so I like it when you had put it out. But since you created this system, have you received a message or have you had any review on it with somebody saying they used it and it's really, really helped them? Have you had any proof that it's actually changed or transformed any life aside yours?
Absolutely. I've tested. That's a great question, Sheila, and I'm sure it's in the minds of our audience as well. There's families that have used it. There's teachers that have used it. a specific family that used it had a family of 5 children, and the little boy is 4 years old and had an older brother and older sisters. But one day he wrote physical touch, and he's jumping up and down, pumping his hands and saying, "Yes, physical touch, physical touch." 4 years old, just 4 years old. So can't even read yet. Knows the pictures though, and he says physical touch, and immediately, Sheila, he starts beating up on his brothers. That's apparently the way that the brothers showed love to him.
Yeah.
So he thought, "Hey, I've got permission now to beat up on them back."
Oh, no.
And he's the youngest of the family. And the mother started trying to suppress the laughter, because that's just not what she expected to come out. So trying to suppress that laughter, but at the same time, sees it as a teaching moment. That, no, son, would be appropriate physical touch. You can give them the high five, you can do the fist bump, you can give them a hug. That's appropriate physical touch. And so not only did the 4-year-old learn what appropriate physical touch was, but the older siblings also learned more about what appropriate physical touch was. And I think that if children can learn that it really does change their outlook on life. That it's not okay. It's not okay to hit on people like that. Yeah, and another situation, I've got a private school that actually has taken the die, and so what the classroom does is at the beginning of the day, they roll the die. The teacher does an explanation and say, "Class, we're looking for this day." It takes less than 30 seconds, maybe less than 60 seconds, not very much time at all. For that investment of time, the behavior is tamped down to the point, or misbehavior is tamped down to the point that maybe non-existent, because what you're doing in the classroom is you're teaching those children responsibility for their own actions. Remember the story I just told you, that I was 35 years old, blaming my father for things that went wrong. And when you can blame someone, you don't have to change. It's their fault. And when it's their fault, you don't have anything to do. You don't have to change at all. So blame is one of those false assurances that you're okay. What we're talking about today, teach them to send out love. After they've done that, roll the die for the day, then the teacher has a journal page very similar to this, that they record what they rolled, what opportunities did they see to love in that way, then what did they do about those opportunities. It's a book, but for the teachers, I've given them actually a PDF of that particular page so that they can do several prints and pass it out to all the students. And so the students are going to be able to record that. And so in the teaching situation, in the school situation, it's helping with the behavior problems. So there's a lot of places where this is working well. In a business situation, it helps with customer service. You want your customers loved. If you love your customers, they're going to come back for more products and more services. They're just going to like doing business with you if you send out that love.
Wow. Well, I can see that it's been implemented in schools and workplaces, and it looks like the response for the use of this system is really, really good. Now, can I ask, what's the price for the system? Because I'd read from your notes that it's not expensive, so I want to know what inexpensive is in this case.
Inexpensive. This is less than one session, much less than one session of therapy. So in context, it's 30. You can buy the bundle. You can buy the book, the journal, and the die in a bundle for about $30.
Wow. So where can people get this?
They can find it on my website. I'm at rolloflove.com. And just interesting play on words, Sheila. You roll R-O-L-L, the die outside of you. But the roll R-O-L-E is a change within. Yeah. So it's R-O-L-E of love.com, rolloflove.com.
Great. Would you have any final message you'd like to give to our listeners as we wrap up?
Absolutely. There are words that we get from foreign nations that really kind of help us have better understanding in our lives. And the Sanskrit dialect in northern India has sent us three words that we know very well. One word is nirvana, the next word is karma, but the word I want to talk about today is namaste. Namaste is many times said at the end of a yoga class where the instructor puts their hands together, the fingers pointing upward, thumbs toward the chest, and they bow their head and close their eyes. They say namaste. It doesn't mean that it's thank you or goodbye, it's class is over, it's time to go. It doesn't mean that at all. The Hindu interpretation of namaste means that the God in me sees the God in you, or the divine in me sees the divine in you. That's what we're doing with this die. We're watching for the good parts of people, the divine in others, and expressing love in that way. It's a great way to live. It's really going to affect the happiness levels of that person that you're sending it to, and when it comes your way. I didn't talk very much about as you send it out over a 30-day period, you know all the love languages. The best part about that is it gives you a vision or the eyesight to be able to see it when it comes your way. It may not be your primary love language, but you can say, oh, they're loving on me, it's over here, but I can respond in that way. So it really improves your vision that way. Watch for that, and it's all about them. No longer is it about us. It's about them. Just send it out.
Yeah. Well, send it out. We'd like to say a massive thank you, Paul, for coming on Podcast with Sheila today.
Thank you so much, Sheila. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, it was a delight having you. And this is season 2, episode 94 of our podcast series, where we bring seasoned guests with inspiring life experiences to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please drop us a rating. We have a video presentation of this episode on our YouTube channel. Just search for Podcast with Sheila on YouTube and you will find us. Our prayer for you this week is to love and be loved. Together, we'll make the world a better place. Until we meet again, have a brilliant